Hello, everybody. Walter Cotton here, kind of talking to a new audience about a virtual veteran business summit. I want you to save these dates: February 21st and February 28th, because it's on those dates that I'm going to launch the epiphany that I received last night. Like most evenings, last night was no different. I wrestled, twist and turn, thinking about all of the major veteran issues of the day when, like a bolt of lightning, like a shot out of a gun, it hit me. In order to cause the veteran business community to achieve parity, the parity that was desired and designed by Congress, we need to follow the money. And in order for you to follow the money, you're going to need a guide. I happen to be one that has experience, got over $13 billion of wealth transfer to veterans just like you as my experience. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my experience and the programs that I've developed and the relationships that I've developed to help you realize, to help you achieve your personal dream. Why am I doing this? It's because I made a commitment to myself and the veteran community when this scourge, this epidemic of veteran suicide became known to me, because I said, I got to draw my line in the sand here. One veteran taking his or her own life here on this soil is too many, in my opinion. But when I found out that the number had grown to 22, it was unconscionable. I had to do something. Just like you, if you're a not at-risk veteran, you should be compelled. You should feel called to do something. The something that I'm going to do is in my lane. My lane isn't healthcare. My lane isn't education. My lane is business. My lane is empowering entrepreneurs, almost like the entrepreneur whisperer, with the ability to exceed their expectations. So I'm going to do that for those who join me on the 21st or the 28th by giving them a tool set, a proven tool set that they can use to acquire wealth that they can use to satisfy up to 5 generations of their families. And I'm crossing my arms and I'm sitting back with confidence here, because I'm not talking to you about something that is hyperbole, exaggeration for exaggeration's sake. I'm talking to you about something that I've done for others and I will do for you. I will make you a jobs creating agent, a jobs creating juggernaut in your own community. But the only thing that I can do in this equation is my part, right? I can play my role of making the information available to you. I can provide you with the breadcrumbs and lead you to the watering hole, but you're going to have to drink yourself. Fortunately, we've made it easy. But let me start by going backwards, right? And for those of you who are old hat, this is going to be kind of boring for you. But for those of you who are new to this information, you need to know the foundation upon which the benefits I'm talking to you about rest. And they start with Public Law 10650, which was passed back in 1999. The problem with that law, as many of you may already know, is it was flawed. It was written with flaws in it. For example, the law, which was a contracting law, was written without the provision of allowing the contracting officers to do set aside for disabled veterans or sole source contracting for disabled veterans. And it took us about 4 years to correct that, work with Congress, work with the agency, work with all of the VSO communities to correct that problem. And we did so in 2003 with the issuance of Public Law 108183. From there, We moved on to the Veterans Administration and Public Law 109461, which was the law that contained the benefit or provision known as the Veterans First Regulation. In layman's terms, basically that regulation allowed veterans and disabled veterans to have first priority in all Veterans Administration spends. And considering that they are the second largest agency from a budget perspective in the federal government, boy, the veterans community was really excited about this. But unfortunately, we were resisted by the Veterans Administration for more than a decade. And we had to use the court system to ultimately take them before the Supreme Court and win a decision, which many of you know as the Kingdom Ware decision. And although we did that, in addition to that, in the interim, we put in practice through Public Law 111240, which was the Jobs and Credit Act of 2010, a provision that creates a sustainment component for your veteran business. It creates a business continuation solution that didn't exist before that regulation was written. And I'm pretty proud of that because I had the pleasure of being asked to co-author the contracting section of that legislation, and it is still paying dividends. But from 2019 forward, the market is available. The market opportunity is most available to those small businesses that know how to make themselves bigger small businesses. And that's what you're going to learn as a component of this system that you're going to acquire during our virtual summit. I don't like to talk a whole lot about myself. I mean, if you want to find out who I am and what I've done, you can easily Google me, or you can go out to my LinkedIn page, or you can go to some of the veteran publications that I write for. Folks, I've been doing this for, it's approaching 20 years now. And I'm arguably one of the nation's subject matter expert best known for introducing joint venturing into the contracting lexicon for the federal government. That resulted, as some of you already know, in more than $13 billion worth of wealth transfer to veterans and disabled veterans. I share that just so that you know that when I tell you I have friends in high places, I do. It's because of years of experience. It's because of years of working with individuals on the agency side of the equation, on the political side of the equation, as well as on the vendor and veteran service organization side of the equation. And that's why I can say with a full level of confidence that our veteran service organizations weren't designed to be business facilitators. And therefore, they're not the best at being business facilitators. They're good at education, they're good at healthcare, and they're good at providing the myriad of other services that they provide, but they're just not the best at business today. And therefore, you've got a lot of veterans that are coming into this contracting arena looking for the success strategy. They're looking for the way forward. And unfortunately, and this is my personal opinion, if an individual has never run a business, how are they going to teach individuals who are trying to start up a business what the right strategies to employ are? These are things that you can't just cookie cutter out of a textbook and deliver to people. And unfortunately, many veterans that transitioned from service or heard about this new veteran benefit found themselves searching for the lane of success while being chauffeured by failure. That's a point of fact. And if you take that challenge and you add on it the compounding event of this epidemic in suicide, what you find is a bipartisan interest in making sure that our veterans have the tools and resources they need in order to be able to self-determine in this society. And I can tell you unequivocally, without reservation, those tools are there. Now, what's needed is our veterans need to learn how to use them, because I'll just use my own example of the language that I wrote into the Jobs and Credit Act of 2010. Game changer. An absolute game changer for any business that understands the regulations and knows how to use them. And as the picture on the bottom of the screen indicates, as it suggests, what that regulation does is it allows you as a small business, you as a new entrant into the contracting field, to be on par, to have equity with the large prime contractors that have been there for years. And in point of fact, because of some regulatory changes that are outside of our scope, it gives you a disruptive competitive advantage, which you're going to learn about as a part of this program. But for a quick moment here, I want to have a conversation with those of you who are like me. You're a not at-risk veteran. And I want to chastise you for a minute, because you, like me, have not paid enough attention to the interest and needs of our at-risk brothers. When we were in service, we had a credo, right? We had an oath: never leave a man behind. But in this area, this arena, this era of veteran, I see veterans suffering from mental disorders. I see them homeless at an increasing rate. I see them underemployed at an increasing rate. And I see veterans who are in a position to make a difference in these areas turning a blind eye to those needs. And I'm going to tell you right here, right now, with certainty, that it is incumbent upon you to focus all your attention on making sure that the support systems that our at-risk veterans need are robust and plentiful. And the reason that you, as a not at-risk veteran, want to do that today is because you never know when the ravages that have visited our at-risk veterans are going to visit you and your family. And at that particular point in time, at that intersection, you're going to need all of these supports that our at-risk veterans are crying for our assistance with. So let's get at it, folks, right? Let's make sure that we take this suicide problem and we curb it. We nip it in the bud right now. We have the power. We have the ability to do it. Let's take these other top veteran issues, whether it be this trial balloon. That's what I like to refer to this MedSurg Prime vendor fiasco as. It's a trial balloon that the procurement people at the VA are floating to see if it will fly. And so far, it's been doing a pretty good job, right? It flew all the way through the Supreme Court, and recently, a lower court judge in the Court of Federal Claims had the audacity, I mean the unmitigated gall, to not uphold the precedent, the clearly stated precedent in the Supreme Court decision on Kingdomware. And when this challenge, when this need for intervention was brought to the attention of our VSOs, they basically said, we can kick the can down the road on that one, because by the time we get another case in front of a judge, blah, 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 the contract will be over. The problem with that thinking is that that's not entrepreneurial thinking, right? That's employee-based thinking. It's employee-based thinking because the entrepreneur always thinks, why not? Why isn't there an avenue that I can use? And in this particular case or example, what I would submit to the VSO community, what I would submit to those people that are fighting this case, is that they take a look at the judge. They take a look at the judge and his behavior and his actions, because this judge is bound by a code of ethics. And if you read that code of ethics carefully, which I did, you will see that it requires the judge to be impartial in his decision making. And if at any time he makes a decision that a prudent man, given the same set of facts, would have come to an aggressively different position on, then his subjective decision, his partial decision in whatever case he's looking at, is called into question. I'm suggesting that we pull off the kid gloves, and that we hold everyone that's attacking our community accountable for their behavior and their action. The Mission Act, I'm sure you guys have heard about this. This is supposed to be the insurance program for veterans that live too far away from a hospital, where I don't know if I am comfortable with that, because I kind of see this as a sleight of hand that's designed to drain resources away from our veteran hospitals. And when you combine this kind of activity and behavior with the activity and behavior of the Mar-a-Lago 3, you understand why the chairman of the House Veteran Affairs Committee made his first official act after appointing his committee members to open an investigation into the Mar-a-Lago 3's undue influence on the Veterans Administration. The Blue Water veterans, another example of our country's backhanded approach to showing him and her who has borne the battle how they're going to take or care for them. And this one gets me kind of upset when I even think about it, because at the end of the 215th Congress, which was just this past year, the House had already voted. They had cleared the way for this bill to be passed, and the Senate just needed to take it up and vote. And because of a couple of Senate members' objection to what they call unsettled science, veterans that were a part of the Vietnam War, we're talking Vietnam era veterans, that's how far back this benefit has been delayed, are still being injured by a system that's not caring for them, because the conventional wisdom is that because they were on boats and not on land, they weren't affected by Agent Orange. Bottom line is that's a poor example of leaving no stone unturned to care for him or her who has borne the battle. And at the end of the year, we saw another little tap at the armor, which is the veteran business owner, as the House Small Business Committee issued a bill that would require veterans and service-disabled veterans to certify their business. I personally think that's a bad idea, but this is one of the myriad of issues that we as non-at-risk veterans need to get our arms around, so that we can make sure that those assets are available, that they're insulated and they are robust and available should we need them in the future. But I digress, because at the end of the day, what we are simply talking about is whether or not you or your fellow veteran is going to take full advantage of this opportunity. Now, I've seen the veterans that have taken advantage of it, and they're living well, living large, as the kids would say. Your question is it your turn now? If it is your turn, you need to know what's in it for you, right? What's in it for me? Well, let me just establish some criteria, okay? If you're not doing $3 million a year with your business, then you need to pay particular attention to this particular offer. You need to be there on the 21st or the 28th, because we're going to provide you a program that's going to give you unbridled access to a market demand that's more than $300 billion in size, quantified, guaranteed by law. I'm going to show you how your veteran advantage established by the law creates a disruptor for you as a business owner and empowers you with the ability to create enough wealth for you to have 5 generations of your family say Pop, Pop, or Nana did good. All you have to do in order to secure your seat, and seating is limited because we've only got limited resources, is to send my colleague, Jay Moore at mympu.org, a request for an invitation for your seat at the upcoming virtual Vision Match Summit. Well, that's about all that I have for this installment. I trust that we've given you enough information to make an educated decision, and I look forward to seeing you during one of the sessions.